Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Tumblr, Pinterest. We have many opportunities to communicate and to self-express, but are we taking those opportunities to really connect with each other? Today I would like to make the claim that social media prevents personal connection. I will support this claim by first explaining how social media results in self-masking, second, how social media blocks intimate relationships, and third, how social media hinders our biological ability to connect with others. What do I mean when I say connection? Jane Dutton, a professor at the University of Michigan who is an expert on high-quality relationships in the work setting, describes a connection to be the dynamic, the living tissue that exists between two people when there is some contact between them involving mutual awareness and social interaction. Social media was originally created to bring connectivity to our relationships. In an article about the original purpose of social media published by the National Association of Sales Professionals, it states that Facebook is a platform to socially interact and connect, even if the connection is just reminding you which person that was that you just met. It's about your face and your public persona. This leads us to the point that social media results in self-masking. According to psychologist Carl Jung, a persona is the social face the individual presents to the world, a kind of mask designed on the one hand to make a definite impression upon others, and on the other to conceal the true nature of the individual. In a study done by Gwendolyn Seidman, a professor in the psychology department at Albright College, it was found that students' need to belong cause neurotic behavior in the context of Facebook. There was extreme anxiety found of self-presentation on social media in order to feel accepted. Similarly, the director of the MIT Initiative on Technology and Self, Sherry Turkle, says in her book, Alone Together, that people feel they have to perform a character on social networks. Living on social network means performing one's profile, and indeed multiple profiles, almost all the time. She also explains that people complain of performance anxiety when it comes to social media. These examples show us not only the challenges with one's ability to connect with someone else in the midst of anxiety, but also shows us the potential falsehood of someone's profile just so that they can be accepted. Cheryl Turkle also states in her book Alone Together that our network life allows us to hide even though there are ties to one another through social media. This leads us to my next point, that social media blocks intimate relationships. Many people who use Facebook or other social media have hundreds of friends that they've never even met. Michael Price of the American Psychology Association states in his article, Alone in the Crowd, that social media can provide the illusion of companionship without the demands of intimacy. But what are the demands of intimacy? The Psychology Dictionary defines intimacy as a state of extreme interpersonal emotional closeness such that each party's personal space can be entered without causing discomfort. According to this definition, intimacy demands emotional closeness. Michael Price continues to state in his article that we are lonely but fearful of intimacy, and social media contributes to that. Our fear of emotional closeness is being hidden in social media that broadly promotes connectivity but really masks the true issue that we're not willing to be intimate with one another. Why is intimacy or emotional closeness important? Barbara Fredrickson, the Kinnan Distinguished Psychology Professor at University of North Carolina, explains in a New York Times article that it is human interaction that increases our capacity for connection, friendship, and empathy. My final claim is that social media hinders our biological ability to connect. Barbara Fredrickson conducted research with interpersonal connections and found that our heart-brain connection is altered by our social habits. She uses social genomics, which is a field of research that examines why and how different social factors and processes, for example, social stress, conflict, isolation, and attachment, affect the activity of the genome. She states that social genomics can tell us the ways that our genes and our children's genes that are expressed at a cellular level are responsive to the habitual experiences and actions. She explains that the more attuned with others we become, the healthier we actually are. The more human contact a person has, the better their heart-brain connection is, ultimately optimizing your ability to biologically connect with other people. In conclusion, social media prevents our ability to make intimate personal connections with each other because of the demands to perform according to our online persona. It allows us to hide from our deep fear of emotional closeness, all the while claiming to promote it. And finally, it creates social habits that impact our biological ability to connect now and in the future.
All right. Tana, you have an excellent label of the proposition. There's an extremely clear preview of what the structure is going to be, which makes everything easy to follow in the body of the speech. All of your transitions are also extremely clear, so as I'm listening to your presentation, I know where I am at any given point, and I can see how those arguments are fitting together. I like the fact that you offer definitions of a lot of the complex concepts that you're talking about. I think that helps make the subject understandable to the audience, and I kind of want to give you a lot more credit for that. I've got this one category here, controversy on issues and language definition. So I think you're great on the definition stuff. I need a little bit more on the controversy. In other words, is this something that people really see as being problematic? Does anybody dispute that there are these kinds of problems? Are people substituting inadequate, non-intimate relationships for the more intimate relationships that they have? When you mentioned that people supposedly have hundreds of friends, many of them that they haven't met, does that mean that they don't have any other friends that they interact with on a regular basis and have those intimate relationships that you're talking about? I needed a little bit something like that. So when I dinged you a little bit on this category, but it's not because of the definitions. The definitions were really good. I'm trying to make the extra point so that you say, what is he talking about? Because I did that on each point. You did a very good job on that. Like I said, that's mostly the controversy kind of thing. Organizationally, everything was fine, like I already said. I thought you did an excellent job citing the sources and the qualifications of all those people. There's a lot of testimony in the speech, and it comes from people that you give good qualifications to. I think we could use some more diversity in the types of evidence that is going on here. Some statistical information, for instance. There's not really any statistical data in the speech. It seemed to me like there's an obvious place when you talk to, for instance, about the number of people that have X number of Facebook friends. It just jumps right out there. There's a statistic. What's the average number of people that people have on Facebook as their friends? And then ask, do a comparison. I'm sure that there's some psychologist, communications person who's talked about the truth is that we can't really maintain friendships with any degree of intimacy past a particular point. You can have hundreds of relatives, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have an intimate relationship with all of those relatives. So the statistical part was a little bit short, but everything else I thought was really solid. A couple of examples would also help, I think, sharpen that. I thought the presentation was really solid. You did a nice job talking to the audience. You seemed like you understand the subject. You're only having to look down when you get the quotes, and so you're talking to us and building a lot of credibility that way. All right, thank you.